Life sometimes throws a curveball out of nowhere. It seems innocent at first until it hits you in the face, as innocent as a little 5-year-old crying his heart out. That's exactly what happened to me 4 weeks ago. David, my husband, our 2 children and I were at a barbecue on a bright sunny August Saturday. I was alone in the kitchen making pasta salad. Margaret, the hostess, was outside with other wives and husbands. Samuel, our little boy of 5 years, came running in, rushed to me and started crying. He tried to say something but couldn't hold back his sobs, and I couldn't make out a word. "Okay, slow down, honey. Take a deep breath and tell me why you're crying." Gathering all his courage, sniffling and breathing heavily, he took my advice. "I don't want Daddy to get rid of Whiskers, Mommy. I don't want a new cat. I love Whiskers," he said. "Why do you say that, Sam? We don't want to replace Whiskers with a new cat." "Why do you think that?" I asked. "Because Dad was telling Uncle John about it," he finally said. I gave him a hug. "You probably didn't understand very well what Daddy was saying. We're not getting rid of Whiskers. Now, Sam, forget it and go back outside to play with the other kids," I reassured Sam. Sam looked up at me. "Are you sure, Mom? Are we going to keep Whiskers?" "Yes, I'm sure." With obvious relief, he hopped outside. It was a strange thing to do. Whiskers is my old 15-year-old cat. I've had him since before I met David. My name is Sheila Roberts, formerly O'Brien. I met David 10 years ago. He was 25 years old and I was 23. We hit it off right away, and 2 years later we were married. A year later I got pregnant and we had our first child, Annika, who is now 7 years old. 2 years later I gave birth to Samuel. I know that Whiskers is nearing the end. He is already a little blind and has trouble staying on his feet when he goes to the bathroom, but he is still very much alive and eating well. David and I have discussed this topic several times and have even started to prepare the kids for the fact that Whiskers doesn't have long to live, but we were far from making a decision. I'll be sure to talk to him about it. It wasn't until we left the barbecue and headed home that I remembered Samuel's words. "Honey, why did you say before that you wanted to get rid of the cat and get a new one?" "It really traumatized Samuel," I said. David suddenly had a strange look on his face for a split second. Surprise, shock, I wasn't sure. He looked at Samuel sitting in the back seat. "I didn't say anything like that. Let's talk about it later when the kids have gone to bed," he finally replied. When we got home, I had to wake up Samuel, who was very tired and in a bad mood. During bath time, there was a real struggle for supremacy, as there often is between the children and me. David and I were exhausted too, and soon went to bed, and I forgot all about Whiskers. Until a week ago. It was our turn to host friends for a barbecue. I was in the kitchen when I really had to go to the bathroom. The odor that greeted me was horrible. I don't know what the previous user had for breakfast, but I almost threw up. Gasping, I quickly opened the window, breathing in the fresh air and at the same time, the noise from the backyard. I could clearly hear John talking to David, even though I couldn't see them from the bathroom. "You sneaky bastard," John said. "I didn't think you were capable of such a thing, bringing a new kitty into the house while your wife is away." "Shut up, John, you're going to get me in trouble. If Sheila finds out, I'm finished," David replied. "So, you're all set for Labor Day weekend when she takes the kids to visit Mom and Dad?" "John, I said shut up!" "Okay, sneaky dog!" I was in a stupor. I tried to sit on the toilet, but the last occupant had left the seat up, and I found myself sitting on the toilet. I straightened up, put the seat and lid down, and sat like that for many minutes. My world was crumbling around me. I distinctly remembered what Samuel had overheard a few weeks ago and suddenly realized the true meaning. There's the old pussycat, meaning me, and the new one. I couldn't understand. I refused to understand. Our life was almost perfect. We both had jobs we loved, 2 beautiful children, a nice home, and great friends. I still looked good in my 34 years, and our sex life was more than satisfactory, so why would he choose to leave me for a younger woman? Why risk losing everything to try a new piece of ass? Try as I might, I couldn't find anything in David's behavior that shed any light on his dissatisfaction with me. He still does everything he can to express his love for me, delighted that I am his wife, mother, and friend. And I have always reciprocated him. Could I have misinterpreted what I heard? No, John's vocabulary is a little rough. When he says pussycat, he means woman. My marriage was over. I started crying. There was no way I could go on living with that bastard. But how could I go on? What should I do? Should I go and give him a scandal in front of everyone? That's no good. From what they said, the case would be done over the long weekend. I had to get proof that he cheated on me. It's as simple as that. A colleague's husband works for a security agency and can install cameras in the house to catch him. Yes, that's exactly what I'll do. And then, with proof of his cheating, I'll throw him out on the street and squeeze as much out of him as the court will allow. The worst part would be living with him for the next week without letting him suspect anything wrong. I wiped my eyes, reapplied my ruined makeup, and went back outside to mingle with my guests. The next week was horrible. I couldn't treat David with much affection. Every time that two-faced son of a bitch tried to be sweet and loving and caring, I had to fight myself to just keep from peeling that fucking smile off his face. Finally, Friday came, and I joined the kids for the 3-hour drive to my parents' house. Upon seeing me, my mom immediately knew something was wrong. She made me tell her what was wrong, assuming it was something between me and David. An hour later, when the kids were in the basement with Dad playing Xbox on the old TV, I told Mom and Natalie's little sister everything. They were as surprised as I was to learn of David's devious behavior. No words could soften the pain I was feeling, but it was comforting to know that I could rely on them to help in a time of need. Saturday night, Natalie took me out for a drink. It was a pub with live music. It would be nice to just get drunk and forget about the fact that at the same moment my soon-to-be ex-husband was sleeping with some slut. Glass after glass of wine, my mood wasn't improving, but the burning pain was slowly going away. Natalie's friends were all many years younger than I was, but they made nice and cheerful company, albeit a little wild for my tastes. They all knew I was having marital problems and did everything they could to make me feel better. Soon I was constantly on the dance floor. 2 young men, Steve and Brad, were especially attentive to my mood and took turns dancing with me and telling me soothing phrases like, "What a fool your husband is," or, "If I were him, I would do anything to keep you." I soon realized that they were mostly trying to profit from my misery. But I didn't care. If my son of a bitch husband can play with me, so can I. I know I'm still an attractive woman, and the obvious behavior of these 2 kids, it hasn't been that many years since their teenage years, confirms that fact. On Sunday, I will deliver the final blow to this false marriage, but not without an explosion. Toward the end of the evening, nearing last call, I danced a slow dance with Steve. I pressed my whole body against him and felt his arousal pressing against my stomach. I said, "You are a very beautiful woman, Sheila. I don't know what your husband will lose when you leave him, but I can't wait to find out tonight if you let me," Steve whispered in my ear. In the next few seconds, a flood of conflicting feelings and thoughts ran through my head. At the top of the list was my natural reticence towards other men since I'd met David. 2 wrongs don't make a right, my mind screamed at me. In the end, feelings overcame reason. This is the first day of my new life, and there's nothing I love more than fucking you, I finally said. He quickly understood the meaning of what I said. In a matter of minutes, I grabbed my purse and we were off, heading towards Steve's apartment. "Go to my purse, grab my little camera, turn it on, set it to video mode, and put it right on the TV so it captures everything we're going to do tonight," I asked. "It'll be a parting gift to my asshole husband," I explained. Grinning devilishly, he complied with the order and returned. I had never been very loud during lovemaking. But now, I wasn't making love. For the benefit of the camera, I spent the entire next hour directing these 2 young men, ready to use me as hard and as fast as they could, and without inhibitions. I left for home right after a late dinner my mom had prepared on Sunday. I didn't bother to call David and let him know I'd be back a day early. I didn't mind surprising him with his bimbo and with 2 kids in tow. Parking in the garage, I was surprised to see that David's car wasn't there. Maybe he was out with his new girlfriend. No matter. On Monday, someone from the security agency would provide me with all the records from the house. Whiskers was the only one who greeted us. I hope that bastard didn't leave him alone all weekend. After sending the kids downstairs to the playroom, I plugged my digital camera into the TV. I was ready to give David a good show. Near 10 p.m., I finally heard his car pull into the driveway. The garage door was closed and all the lights were on as he left them. I stood in the kitchen waiting for him and his girlfriend to come in. I was a little taken aback when I saw that he was alone. He had a cardboard box in his hands. He was caught off guard when he saw me. "Honey, is something wrong? Are the kids sick? You weren't supposed to be back until tomorrow afternoon," David asked with a concerned look on his face. However, his worry was just beginning. His girlfriend would probably be arriving soon. "I know all about it, David. I overheard your conversation with John last week. The cat's out of the bag," I said, acid and ice mixed in my tone. He lowered his eyes, guilt written all over his face. "I'm sorry, honey. I should have been honest with you. I don't know why I kept it a secret. I knew that after so many years together you would feel guilty," he said in a whisper. "But I did it for the kids, so the shock wouldn't be so bad." Now he had me confused. How would sex with another woman help the kids cope with our divorce? It didn't make sense. Before I could answer, the kids ran upstairs and rushed to their father. He almost dropped the box he was still carrying. Suddenly, a faint meow came from the box, surprising both the children and me. David carefully placed the box on the floor and opened the flaps. 2 small kitten heads emerged from it and looked up at the children. "These are for you kids," David said. 2 little kittens, 1 for each of you." I suddenly felt sick, my stomach wanting to empty right there in the kitchen. David looked at me. "I'm sorry, Sheila. The last time I was at the vet, he said Whiskers didn't have long to live. That's when I decided to get these 2 kittens to help the kids cope." He grabbed a couple bottles of beer from the refrigerator and turned to me. "Let's go into the living room while the kids meet the kittens. I wonder what's on TV." Oh, shit.